I have here is a Smith Wesson. It's an L frame model 686. I believe this was a police return at one point. A lot of holster wear here at the front end and on the cylinder, and pretty good cylinder ring. Looks like it was carried a lot more than it was fired. But if we look at this, at the edge of this trigger, when the trigger's forward and you're going to do a double action pull on it, it's got a little sharp edge. We're going to take that sharp edge down and polish that out and smooth it up, make it a little more comfortable to shoot. When the hammer's cocked, and yes, this is empty, that's no longer an issue because it changes the position. You use more of the pad of your finger. So single action fire, that edge isn't really an issue. But when that trigger's forward and you're kind of hooking your finger around it a little bit more because of the double action pull, it does have a little, I wouldn't say a bite to it, but there's a pretty good edge on it. So we're going to be smoothing up that edge. And while we have it apart, we'll probably go ahead and smooth up that trigger pull too. This has a pretty nice, it's empty. This has a pretty nice smooth double action. The single action could be improved a little bit. But we're going to smooth up an external smoothing of that trigger. We'll do a little internal work too. But let's go ahead and get to work, get this thing apart, get it all smoothed up. Now, here's a good place to start. I've got this. This is not a gunsmithing screwdriver. It's just a Craftsman, screwdriver. It seems to fit these grip screws really well. And seems like every caliber of gun, every make of gun, I just like to use this same screwdriver. Just what I'm comfortable with. All right, so let's take these grip panels off. Nice snug fit there. Good, good, good. All right, so now let's address these screws here on the side plate. I've got my set of gunsmithing screwdrivers, and if I'm going to take these two, and they're very, very similar in size. The one here on the left is slightly bigger, and this one is just slightly smaller. So we want as tight a fit as we can with the screwdriver in that screw slot. So we'll start with the bigger one, and it just will not quite go into that screw slot. So this is the next smallest screwdriver bit I have, and we can see that's going to be a nice tight fit. That screwdriver is not going to jump out of that groove and not going to bugger up that screw head. All right, so let's start with this bit. We'll remove this. These screws are separate. This one is flathead because that's what goes underneath the grip panel. These two have more of that rounded, was that Philister head. We're going to remove this front one first, and I'll show you why here in just a second. So let's remove this front screw. This screw is kind of a special one because this is the screw that retains your crane. All right, so I've got my little drawing of a Smith & Wesson side plate. I'm going to put that screw in the front because that's where it goes, so I don't get these mixed up. I keep them in the right order. The gun's made after, I believe, I'm going to say 86. It's probably going to be wrong. That screw is a little bit longer, has a little bit longer head because it retains that crane. It's a little different. All three screws are different. On the more modern Smith & Wessons, these are identical, and you can't swap these back and forth. But this front screw does retain the crane. So if we bring that cylinder out, there we see, take that crane right out, because that's the job of that. Not just retaining that side plate, but also it goes into that groove on the crane, and that's what retains your revolver crane. All right, so now let's address the other two screws. We'll take these apart. This one, that's not so bad. And I'll put these back in order. Like I said, these two screws are identical. They're interchangeable, but I still like to keep them in order. It could be for certain things like wear and things like that. You just don't want to switch them up. And like I said, with the older Smiths, oh, here we go. There we go. With the older Smiths, they are different. And you can see the difference on them. All right, so we'll remove this flathead. All right, so now you're wondering, hey, John, do I just pry that off? Oh, no, don't you dare pry that off. All right, we know from physics, an object at rest tends to stay at rest. So what we're going to do is this side plate is going to stay at rest, and I'm going to tap the revolver's grip frame here, and I'm going to move the grip frame down. we know from physics that side plate's going to stay, and I'm going to push the, see how it's already coming up? All right, so I'm using that nice soft edge of that screwdriver, and I'm pushing that grip frame down, that side plate staying in place, and there it goes. It just came free. Look at that. Ta-da! That's the way you remove that side plate. All right, that little safety, we'll set that aside. All right, here's the inside of that's the inside of a Smith Wesson revolver. This one's got nice, look at that, nice and oily. Woo, fun stuff. All right, let's take this apart a little bit further. All right, up next, what we're going to do is we're going to remove our mainspring. Let's take the tension off that mainspring, or we shall detension it. Let's see. There we go. You can see that mainspring straighten out as the tension comes off of it. There we go. And this should come up. There we go. You can see we get that little knob on the end, so we know how to orient this. We go to put it back in. Set that off to the side. Move our slide step back. Get the hammer out. Just a little wiggle. There we go. Not looking too bad. To address that maybe. And there we go. That's what we're after. Nice and oily. All right, so we're over here at the vise. I have that trigger, secure. It's in that padded jaws. And it's in there pretty solid. And I'm going to take the Dremel, and you're going, hey John, that's a sanding drum, that's not a grinding disc. Yes, you're absolutely right. We just want to break this edge. I really don't want to change the shape. I just want to take that sharp edge off. So we're just going to use the sanding drum. And just going to break that edge. Just want to round that over, eliminate any kind of hot spot. That's feeling better already. And we'll come back maybe with a really fine file, and we'll make it smooth. And this noise, I don't like talking over it. Is that better? You heard what I said. We're just breaking that edge. Just going to knock this down a little bit, and then we'll hit this with a file. All right, just a little bit of work. We've already rounded that edge over nice. It's no longer a sharp edge. I'll spend a little bit more time on this, eliminate some of these rough spots, and we'll go polish this up. All right, so we finished up with the Dremel, And I have this very, very fine steel file, and I'm just kind of going over, and just want to just maybe knock down any type of sharp edge remaining or any kind of potential hot spot. Round over as best I can. And that's feeling really smooth. I took all that sharp edge off. You can kind of see we just kind of rounded those. Just kind of rounded sides. We didn't really change the shape. We just rounded the edges off. All right, let's get this polished up. Well, here's where we are. After taking that Dremel and rounding off that edge, and then taking the little file and trying to clean that up a little bit, I took it over to the buffing wheel and polished her out. I did a little 320 grit sandpaper to kind of take away any of those any kind of marks that were left from that sanding wheel and the file. So I hit that with 320 grit, and then took it over to the buffing wheel. But we got a nice smooth rounded edges, and yes, I did kind of bump my thumb there, but no worries. That's all buffing compound on my fingers. But we're going to put this back together, and we'll have a nice smooth trigger when we do. All right, you ready to go? Let's put this back together.